Welcome to Colombia. It seems that you have won number of big big competitions such as CICCM and MUSAC. And I'm curious about how you feel about winning so many competitions, and it's all major projects.
Well, we feel very lucky. Very lucky that there was it was a good opportunity for us to have these competitions, which are big. It's true that somehow at a certain moment you can choose the competitions you play. But we think that it's an interesting idea. These buildings that has a big dimension, because it permits, at least in Spain, to have a lot of time to develop it. I mean, it's not just the size; it's the size of the time. That's the important thing. So we have sometimes 3 years or 4 to develop the project, and sometimes the construction it will last 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 years. So we are building now another huge competition, which is the Royal Collections Museum, that started 10 years ago, and it will last 3 more years. So I think that the interesting thing about size for us is the time, the size of the time.
So I was reading an interview, and one of you said it's like competition is like a soccer game, right? And also really interesting, like I went to your website, it's not really like a commercial company, it's more like a blog, right? Like,
yes.
Why do you do so?
No, we think that the blog is much more quick in the relationship with other people, and I think it's more dynamic. And then we have decided 2 years ago to change from a static web page to a dynamic blog. And we think it's a good idea. But you can receive a lot of inputs from people that can comment what you are doing at that moment.
But this idea about the soccer match is that trying to consider that sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. But if the game was good, it doesn't matter.
That's true.
So I mean that sometimes you lose a competition, but you have made a kind of interesting research, and that will be useful in the future. So it doesn't matter, well, you have lost, but fine, let's go to the next.
To compete is a kind of training for building, because at the end, if you are an architect, what you want to do is to build. But to compete is nice because you are doing this kind of effort, this kind of training in order to be in good shape.
So, both of you worked in Rafael Monreal's office, and that's when you decided to cooperate and start a firm?
Yes, we worked with Rafael Monreal for 10 years.
Oh, it's a long time.
And then it was a really nice experience, because we learned a lot about how to deal with clients, how to deal with architecture, how to deal with society, how to deal with construction. And then within that, Rafael Monreal is our master. But at a certain point, after 10 years working with him, we decided that we have the duty to have our own work. That's why we started. We opened our office.
And how did you decide to be an architect? I mean, it's like a childhood dream, like to be an architect.
I don't know. Well, let's confess.
There is a nice
let's confess.
Story about this.
Let's confess. Well, there are very different reasons. Well, first of all, let's think that it's 30 years ago in Spain, which is when we started studying architecture. Well, just studying at the university was something wonderful. But see, I have a twin brother myself, so I was thinking about being naval engineer.
Oh, okay.
So I asked him, well, what are you doing? And he said, I'm doing naval engineer. So I said, well, let's look something, well, let's do architecture. So it was just by chance.
But the amazing thing is, I got to architecture for another reason. Maybe more. It had more relationship to my skill to draw.
Oh, okay.
But on the other hand, I wanted to be a naval engineer too.
Oh.
Because
What
my
a
brother was a
Can change.
it was interesting because
Of naval engineering.
at the end, I decided not to do it, not to study naval engineering. I started studying architecture, but not very, not with a lot of faith. But at the end, it was incredible because it changed all my life.
Great. Last question. So what would you have done if you're not an architect? Maybe you said engineer.
I would like
so
to be
I mean,
an engineer.
what about you?
No, you know, in Spain, well, there is this, something people used to say, you usually do the second thing you do best.
Okay.
So,
What that mean?
for instance, for me it would be nicer to be a writer.
Oh, that's interesting.
And,
You can start
writing
writing about architecture.
Yes, writing architecture. No, I love that. And
But this is interesting because I was born in the 1st of January and he was born in the 1st of July, and we are the opposite. We are really the opposite. And then I feel like an engineer and he feels like a writer. It's a nice thing.
Interesting.
Like a poet.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
nice questions.
Thank you.